Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the Getting Over podcast. It's wrestling time, people, and we are here to predict Survivor Series. It's drawing to the end of the year, the last of the pay-per-views for the year, so let's see what we think is going to happen in this here pay-per-view. We've got guest predictors, and nearly everyone's here. So, yeah. If you're checking us out on YouTube, iTunes, or SoundCloud, or hey, wherever you get your podcasts, it'd be amazing if you could subscribe because it's a big help to the channel. Right, let's get going. So here we go. This is CookieCast Getting Over.
Recording in progress.
The lady, she be right, in theory. So, Stu, take it away.
Hello everyone, welcome along to what is now the 38th full fat instalment, if you like, of Getting Over on CookieCast. And for those of you audio listeners, I will have a little bit of a quick roll call. So, joining me at this time is the head honcho of the network, the chairman of the board, if you will, and obviously the keys to the holder of the keys to CookieCast Towers, Mr. Andy Cook.
Hello.
And last but certainly not least, the host of the football podcast, the co-host of Laces Out, and easily the most, and I mean the most, ginger member of the
There we go.
Mr. Paul Williams.
For anyone who needs to get on their podcast bingo card, I think that'll tick one of those particular boxes. All we need is so we've got the ginger point has already been played. I'm pretty sure over the next 30 minutes or so there'll be something said about first time ever.
I was going to say, should we just rattle through them now and then we'd have to do them later? First time
Oh
ever.
yeah. Someone will be injured because they've got
A book, album,
slash album slash
their band is on
beer
tour.
they're going to release or something like that.
Well, actually, while we're on that, we should have addressed this possibly last time. After the last round of releases, the bingo card has been ruined because Nia Jax could no longer injure anybody in the ring. So...
No!
So, yeah. So, anyway, how are we, gents? All okay? Ready to go? Right, so... we would normally start with predictions, title results. However, as WWE have seemingly messed up our timing with their pay-per-view schedule of late, we had to adapt. We did a bit of a roundup podcast. So for those of you that haven't, go. What are you doing? Go back, and then come back to here, obviously. But yeah, thank you if you have already checked that out. And I mean, we should probably just drop in that I am the new holder of said title that Andy's actually holding. He's just holding.
This one.
It's fine.
Let's say possession 9/10 of the law.
This one here. I'm pretty sure I'm holding it. Look, I'm holding it right now.
Well, yes, but I technically own that, and well, at least until the coming weekend after Survivor Series picks are out in the open. But we'll get to that later in the podcast.
It's almost like over here.
So, has anything actually happened in the last 2 weeks in the world of wrestling or WWE since we did the Roundup podcast? Well, two things I have. WWE has officially cancelled their December pay-per-view. So as we've just mentioned, WWE have really moved things around this year. And not only can they, move around talent from one show to another to other promotions, it seems. But
I thought you were going to go with the unemployment line.
Well, the month of December has also been future endeavoured in terms of pay-per-view hosting, at least. It usually brings us everyone's favourite time of the year, not Christmas, the TLC pay-per-view. And it's reportedly been scrapped in favour of holding a special event now on New Year's Day entitled WWE Day 1. That creative team have, they've worked hard this last year, haven't they? And then to come up with that, Anyway, fear not, however, for those wondering if the move to January will affect the Royal Rumble at all. Apparently not, according to good old Uncle Dave Meltzer. Obviously that's a relief in some respects, as the Rumble is one of the highlights of the calendar, but could they have moved it to February? WrestleMania is not until beginning of April, so maybe, but we'll see how that plays out. But the bigger question is, if they're moving the December pay-per-view, what does that actually mean for the Getting Over podcast? Well, as long as it's fine with Andy, I'm pretty sure we'll still be here in some capacity to bring you some news and some updates, even if WWE keep changing the dates. And if you haven't already, now would be a good time to get along and subscribe and all that good stuff, so you get all of the notifications when the new things come out. Paul either needs the toilet again or he's got a question.
Please, sir, I've got it. So, if there's no predictions, if there's no pay-per-view to do predictions for, we're just going to have to do what every other wrestling podcast would do, and do the end of season awards, aren't we?
That might be a shout. It
might be an awards podcast.
Obviously, there'll have to be an award for most clean sweeps of the predictions title in 1 year. It's got to be up there. It's got to come.
Obviously, WWE.
Got to come with a cash prize.
WWE call it the Slammies, so we'll have to come up with something else. Are we just going to have to be the cookies?
And we'll get little gold cookies as
all little gold statues of you.
Naked? Yes!
Whoa!
That sound, ladies and gentlemen, is the budget.
It's either naked or in a tiny pair of wrestling pants.
I know which way I'm leaning. If it's called the cookies, then the cookies should be on display, let's put it that way.
I know people that do customisable Funko, so you could get that kind of in gold, maybe. Hey. Who knows? But yeah, the other moving swiftly on, the other piece of news was from AEW, and they have a brand new world champion in the form of Hangman Adam Page, after he defeated Kenny Omega at the Full Gear pay-per-view in what was the culmination of like a 2-year storyline. I self-confessed, don't watch AEW all the time, do drift in and out of it. Clearly, if you've ever listened to this before, it is very WWE oriented, so you'll know that that's kind of where the majority of my fandom lies. But
the background would dictate that, yeah.
I don't want to give it away. But I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, AEW have done that better, oh, AEW have done that better, because generally they do some things better, they do some things worse. One thing that I would like to say is that this has been a 2-year storyline. People have not got bored of this storyline in 2 years because of the different elements they've brought in and out and mixed things around. Come on, that is something to learn from people. This like a storyline of that length was not uncommon 10 years ago, for example. Like maybe obviously longer. It was always kind of like, well, it's never going to happen again. People's attention span, blah 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 blah. Well, actually, you know what? On the basis that they've pulled it off, and who's to say that actually now the storyline can't continue beyond this point as well? So, just basically enjoyed the match, and big well done for the way it was set up. Good.
I did see something that indicated that. I don't know how true it was, but there's rumours out there that Omega he might need to step away from a little bit of time because he might need some surgery or something like that, and they potentially needed it for a while, but had been putting it off because he wanted to complete the storyline and obviously wanted to put Paige over. Mm-hmm. So again, I don't know how much validity there is to that sort of story or that rumour, but wouldn't surprise me if he takes a step back for a couple of months just to sort of like heal some nagging injuries and
The reports I'd seen around that were that he was due to undergo some sort of medical assessments during the week of which we are recording. And one of the things said that he'd been suffering from bouts of vertigo.
Oh yeah, and that he'd taken to practicing in a spinning ring.
Yeah.
To sort of combat it. So I mean, that's insane.
I mean, they've blatantly got a pay-per-view ready-made there, haven't they? Gimmick match straight away. A spinning ring would be way more impressive than the explosions at the end of that match.
Oh, but can you imagine? Can you imagine the amount of people in the audience that would be sick at that pay-per-view or that match? Just like
there is something else that I do have as news, but it is kind of like mixed into some of the Survivor Series stuff. So we shall get straight into that. So we are here this time around predictions-wise to talk about the Survivor Series. Survivor Series does come to us live this weekend from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, and it is actually the second longest running annual pay-per-view and is only behind WrestleMania. In recent years, Survivor Series has always been about the battle for brand supremacy, and seemingly this year is no different. However, NXT have not been included, and it's seemingly that the rebuild of NXT 2.0 continues. As always, the matches we're about to mention are correct at the time of recording, and all the information for those have been taken from WWE.com, but the card is always subject to change. There's one of you bingo cards. And at the time of recording, 6 matches have been officially announced. We can probably expect a few more between now and the pay-per-view, but we'll go with what we've got on the card. So, that being said, first match on the list is good old classic Survivor Series 5-on-5 traditional elimination rules Team Raw versus Team SmackDown from the men's division. Team Raw consists of Bobby Lashley, Austin Theory, Finn Balor, Kevin Owens and Seth freaking Rollins. Team SmackDown, we've got Drew McIntyre, Jeff Hardy, King Xavier Woods, Happy Corbin and TBA. Still one spot to be decided.
Got to watch out for that kid. I hear he's an up-and-comer.
Well, apparently he's probably going to have more title reigns than vacant the way things are shaping up, so we'll see. But yeah, there's a few old foes in this one. Obviously, Lashley and Drew in particular on opposing teams. The Mysterios were scheduled to be on part of Team Raw, but were replaced by Lashley and Austin Theory this past week. Sami Zayn was also set to be on Team SmackDown. However, since been removed after losing to Jeff Hardy, and a replacement is yet to be named. It's a bit of a difficult one to predict this, because it with the draft just gone, a lot of the ones that were on SmackDown are now on Team Raw, and vice versa. So it's a bit of a strange one. I don't expect this one to feature too sort of late into the pay-per-view, which is why I've got it down as our first prediction this time around. We should also mention at this point, for the predictions, we are missing Mr. Matthew Moore as part of the regular Getting Over crew. He has submitted predictions, so there is a fourth prediction. However, Mr. Cook.
Yes, the WWE bat signal was fired into the sky looking for a guest predictor. And as some of you long-time listeners might remember, way back in the early days of guest predictors, we had a young man named Jack who fired what I believe was the first ever Getting Over podcast guest predictions over. First time ever guest predictor. I definitely didn't copy his predictions. I will have that known. To celebrate his high five with Drew McIntyre, he is back to offer up more guest predictions. So, Jack, big shout out to you there, buddy. And let's see how you do this time. I believe if you win the guest prediction spot, there's prizes, because obviously we can't relinquish the belt outside of the collective, so we would offer up alternative prizes. I'm I'm sure they'll definitely be provided by Stu. Maybe. So yes, we're a 5 predictor team this time round, and I'm happy to report, having looked at Jack's predictions, we are not copying predictions this time because he's done it. He's done it all wrong. He's got it all wrong.
Well, let's find out how wrong he's got it then. Let Jack lead off proceedings, shall we?
Well, going over to the lovely message that I received. What I've got here is prediction of men's SmackDown team winning.
Okay.
And as if by magic, my prediction for this match is the complete opposite. I have the men's Raw team winning this match.
Okay. Paul?
So, I would like to agree with Jack on this one. And here is the reason why.
This guy.
So, in the previous couple of weeks, Adam Pearce has come out, and the reason that he's moved the Mysterios from the equation was because it's absolutely adamant that Team Raw has to win at Survivor Series. Even though he does exactly the same job on both Raw and SmackDown. So I reckon we're going to get some nefarious dealings from Mr. Adam Pearce, and I reckon he could even potentially be the Team SmackDown 5th member. In fact,
that is a bold prediction. I mean, he was scheduled, wasn't he, for the Rumble match last year, and then it got changed, I suppose. But yeah, I'm not sure that'll sort of play out. However,
it's better than my other prediction that I was going to say. I was going to go with the surprise 5th entrant. I was going to say Braun Strowman.
Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, exactly.
I am inclined to agree with you to the respect of I have also gone for Team SmackDown. I think it heavily relies on who this 5th person is. And storyline-wise, there's been a bit of infighting within Raw, but not directly aimed at Survivor Series as such. But Kevin Owens is just back to being bad guy Kevin Owens. Not getting on with Seth Rollins. Had a match with Finn Balor this past week. Just generally just being a dick, which is fine because he's good at that. This is it's definitely his wheelhouse. But there's too much. Essentially, Bobby Lashley heel, Austin Theory heel, Finn Balor, Kevin Owens heel, Seth Rollins heel. On the flip side, Team SmackDown, Drew McIntyre face, Jeff Hardy face, Xavier Woods, to everybody apart from Andy face, Happy Corbin. I mean, not my cup of tea. But it's kind of neither here nor there. I just have it that I think that SmackDown will win for that reason. And the final prediction will then fall to Matt. So, by the power of Matt's prediction, Andy, you are alone on the Red Team Island. So everybody else has predicted Team SmackDown.
Points.
Andy is potentially picking up an early point there, but we shall find out at the weekend.
It's not like it's my specialty or anything.
Well, nobody can accuse you of copying the predictions, definitely. The next one I have on the list is the US champion Damian Priest versus the Intercontinental champion Shinsuke Nakamura. For me, this could easily be match of the night. Both men are kind of looking to prove themselves in one of the biggest stages of the year. No titles at stake, so there's nothing to worry about in that respect, but a good performance at this stage in the year might end up not only with a point for their brand in the scoring, but some momentum heading into WrestleMania season when we mentioned the Rumble earlier. I mean, this is the time of year. Take note of what happened to Becky Lynch a few years ago. It is the perfect time to hit your stride, so I think this is a good opportunity for both of them. As Matt went last on the first one, he can have first prediction this time out, and he has gone for the United States champion, Damien Priest. Paul?
Yes, please, I'll have the same.
Okay. Any particular reason?
I just think that they're sort of in the build with Mr. Priest. And at the moment, I don't really think there's an out and out favourite as the Royal Rumble winner at this particular point. So I think if they wanted to, he's definitely someone who's at that level where they could take that next step up if they put the machine behind him, so to speak, and he could be one of your surprise guests. Surprise sort of people. I wouldn't be at this particular point. I wouldn't be surprised if he's Final Four material. Let's put it that way for the Rumble, and if they sort of keep him on the same trajectory, he could definitely be a surprise winner for me.
Okay. So, Andy?
I am also in the Damien Priest camp. Unlike Jack, who is Shinsuke Nakamura all the way, baby.
Okay. I have a real hard time picking this because Shinsuke is on a good upward trajectory as well. This whole partnership with Rick Boogs seems to have really kind of revitalised his whole act. He's obviously bringing up Rick Boogs as well as his own sort of performer. Damien Priest has been on what can only be described as an epic run really since WrestleMania kind of this time around. So can he see out the year? It's entirely a coin flip. But for reasons that we'll go into later in the predictions, I'm going to go for Damien Priest, which leaves Jack in the single points sort of picker upper, if you like, position on that one. So next on the card, we shall move to the Battle of the Tag Team Champions. So RK Bro, Randy Orton, and Matt Riddle, or Riddle, should I say these days, versus the Usos. The Usos did pay a little visit to Raw this past week to send a message to Big E on behalf of their cousin Roman Reigns. But what they got was involvement in a 6-man tag match with Seth Rollins versus RK Bro and the aforementioned WWE Champion. Hostilities will obviously be resumed this weekend, but who will notch the point for their brand? I have gone straight in on this one, and I have gone for the Usos. Still benefiting from that Roman Reigns rub. Can't see him losing. So I've gone for the Usos, as has Mr. Moore. So Matt has also gone. Oh, Paul as well, take it.
I mean, is it too obvious to suggest that this will be the sort of the beginning of the storyline that culminates in the Riddle versus Orton WrestleMania match?
Might be a bit early by their booking standards, as we mentioned before.
Well, that's true. But surely that's got to be the natural progression and end of that storyline, surely.
Well, how many tag team partners has Randy Orton had at this point, and how many of them that you can count on no fingers he not attacked? Like, literally everybody he's ever tagged with has copped for it.
You're not wrong.
It's got to be going that way. But yeah, I mean, maybe that's what we could do in December. Maybe we could predict our WrestleMania card and then see how far off we were.
Well, either that or the Royal Rumble and stuff like that.
Yeah, but we'll do a Rumble one separate, won't we? So. Right, so all Usos so far. Andy?
So you three have gone for the Usos. Whichever way around you need it, Stu. I'm for the not first time ever, I am also insulted you've asked me about this. Why would you even ask me? And I tell you what, I am not alone in this one. For the first time in these predictions, myself and Jack are all back in. RK Bro, baby.
I have to ask you because
Don't ask me.
obviously I'm not sure what effect Riddle has on Orton's winning percentage. I haven't got those statistics to hand.
It just increases it. It's
But it certainly
RK
makes-
Bro, isn't it? Come
Certainly
on.
part of it that's higher, but I'll leave that there.
Just before you move on to the next the next match, one thing I didn't really notice is that they've actually mashed their musics together, haven't they?
Yeah.
Which
It
is
is
actually quite a cool sound, to be fair. It actually works really well.
I read this article in the week as well. Apparently, obviously, last time out on the roundup, we talked a little bit about Crown Jewel, and I don't know if you've seen it, but Riddle went to the ring riding a camel rather than his usual scooter. However, apparently Vince McMahon had issued a mandate to say that Randy Orton wasn't allowed to do the same. I mean, Riddle must be thinking, well, I know my worth now. Like that's. You can go and absolutely brain yourself, son, falling off that camel. Him, not so much. So the next match on the list is one that we talked about a little bit on the roundup episode in terms of the real life issues between these two women, and I'm talking about Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. I was absolutely convinced that Charlotte Flair would drop the title between then and now to avoid potential further problems leading into this match. But apparently WWE are just going to ride the wave of this whole car crash straight into the weekend. The plus point for the two women involved is that there doesn't have to be literally any titles dropped this weekend. But maybe the bigger question is, will we actually get a winner? Because it's turned into this huge battle of egos. And this is the bit from the news where I was going to tie in. So, UK tour, as Jack will attest, has been this last week or so. And Charlotte Flair this time round was on the tour, whilst her counterpart Becky stayed in the States. Charlotte was interviewed by BT Sport, and the whole situation was brought up about Charlotte potentially being difficult to work with and so full of herself and things like that. And she basically turned it into like a gender issue. She said that if she was a man, would people not just say that she had big balls and she got on with it and you know that was her? But like, that's come from absolutely out of nowhere, basically. That's the only kind of angle that she's spun on it. Becky has since issued a reply via Twitter, and it's just nothing's easing heading into this weekend. And it's almost got that, if there was a title on the line, it'd have that whole Montreal Screwjob kind of feel about it. But normally, if you'd have said to me, right, this weekend, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, you'd be like, right, brilliant. The matches they've had in the past, I mean, the last woman standing match from, was it Evolution pay-per-view that they had was a particularly memorable one. This weekend, however, maybe watching through sort of closed sort of hands, because it could just, I have no idea what to think about this one.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it at all. You'd like to think that they'd both sort of, be respectful of the situation and stuff, but you never can tell, can you?
No, I'm genuinely worried that one of them is gonna like flip out and possibly end up losing their job. We'll see. I guess, and if not, if everything is slightly, if it's better than what has been portrayed, then well done to them for putting out the, the imagery that which I've bought into anyway. But it was a bit of a toss up for me, this prediction, for that reason. Matt, I'm going to let Matt jump in first. He's beaten everybody to it. Straight in there with a no contest prediction. I don't know. I'm airing more to the side of that Charlotte probably has less of a shit to give in the respect of she's blatantly trying to get out of the company.
So, in that case then, instead of having a no contest, I'll go for a Becky win, but because Charlotte gets disqualified.
Paul has already seen my float, lined up in the parade, and jumped straight on it. So I am also going for Becky Lynch to win. Paul didn't specify the stipulation of because Charlotte then gets fired the day after. However, that may well happen. So we'll see. Andy, what have we got?
Charlotte Flair all the way, innit?
Is she your female Orton?
Yeah. Anytime her name's mentioned, I'm like, stick me down. Just stick me down. Because, you know, she's a Flair. So, however, I know you're going to ask me, and I'm going to tell you, Jack does not agree with me. Jack is all about Becky Lynch winning this one. So,
as he should be. As he should be.
I mean, not that you, for the YouTube viewers, not that you can tell which one I'm particularly pulling for, but they're pulling right there. So, not like that, Andy. We shall move swiftly on. We have another 5-on-5 elimination rules match. This time around, it's the turn of the women from Team Raw and Team SmackDown. So for Team Raw, we have Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, Carmella, Queen Zelina Vega, and Rhea Ripley. And much like the men's team, then there is one missing so far on Team SmackDown. So there is only 4 listed as Sasha Banks, Shotzi, Natalya, and Shayna Baszler. So Aaliyah was originally named as part of the blue team, however has now been removed after a loss in a 6-woman tag match. And infighting maybe the story of the match is Shotzi and Banks on Team SmackDown, and Morgan and Vega and Carmella on Team Raw have been at each other's throats the entire build so far. So yeah.
well, before we dive into their predictions, we've teased what the match is. We're going to take a ever so small commercial break to allow our sponsors to get their money out of us. We'll be back in a second. You won't even notice it. So hang on. We'll be right back.
Recording in progress.
She knows what time it is, doesn't she? So, products, amazing. Buy them. They're awesome. Hit me up on Twitter or any of the socials if you want a discount code. I believe moments ago we were about to start predicting a match. So let's get them done.
That we were. So we were just about to drop our predictions for the women's Team Raw versus Team SmackDown match for upcoming Survivor Series. As a side note, just before we do, all the teams were named in full on Twitter this year, rather than being on the main TV shows, in a really odd move. It seems a little bit to me like it was rushed out at the time, or the overall direction maybe wasn't decided, and then all of a sudden they thought, and then they've just spent the last 2 weeks messing around with it, basically. There was actually no need to name the team. They could have just done it on the shows in that since then. And yeah, I thought it was a bit of an odd move. Paul?
Could I maybe hazard a guess that it might have been to, drive some eyeballs towards the product, maybe?
For the people that have dropped out of the matches, part of me wonders if they said that they were going to be the team in case the ones that have now replaced them didn't make it back from Saudi. Definitely not got formed for that or anything, have they? So, anyway, yeah, so women's Team Raw or Team SmackDown. Shall we have Jack to lead us off this time?
Jack has predicted the women of the blue brand, the SmackDown ladies, to win this match.
Okay.
And just in keeping with form so far, I'm absolutely going with the Raw ladies for this one.
Okay. No worries, you are both in the book. Matt is in agreement with you, Mr. Cook.
Yay!
So Matt has also gone for Team Raw.
Good luck.
I am also going for Team Raw for no other reason than Bianca Belair is on that team and they will need to put her over in some way, shape or form. So that is my pick. Paul.
Now, do I pull the dick move here and just go for SmackDown to try and play for the point?
Well,
No, I must admit, I thought Raw before we even started doing the prediction, just to sort of even it up a bit. Mm-hmm. Give one team, so one team of 5, one win, the other team of 5, the other win, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. Sonya Deville probably gets involved in some way, shape or form. You'd imagine.
Part of me wonders if she's going to be the missing one on Team SmackDown, though. Yeah. And then could she be? Because she's all but due a return to the ring, really, isn't she?
Well, it's that thing. Like, obviously, that the easiest way to book that is book her in the match and have her be like the reason they lose, I suppose.
Well, the TBA, I imagine, will. I'm going to actually say it probably could be Deville because they can continue that argument that she's had with Naomi and even have that as a qualifying match if they want on this week's SmackDown. So I guess we'll get to that. But yeah, that it's not a bad shout that Deville could get involved in that. I think that's a fairly good one. So that does leave us with one more match. But weirdly, 2 more predictions. Okay, so the final match on the card thus far, WWE Champion Big E versus Universal Champion Roman Reigns. So in the battle of the main men's single titles, the head of the table meets the New Day's Big E. They have mixed it up in the past. However, since the draft, Reigns has been targeting Big E's New Day stablemates to make a point. Most recently, even taking Xavier Woods' newly won crown following a beatdown on SmackDown. Big E is fairly new to the top of the card. Reigns has dominated everybody for the Universal title for over a year now, really. Is that going to be the story? Is that going to be the outcome? Who wins this match? Paul, do you want to go?
I mean, is it too easy just to say that Reigns is going to squash him like he has every other person this year? 2 years? Part of me wants to say Big E wins again because we get a disqualification on one side, but no, just stick me down for a straight Reigns win.
Okay. Matt has joined you with that one, as have I. So, in terms of the match card at the very least, Andy, why don't you go next, and then we'll let Jack have the honour of the last match prediction as he had the first.
Well, for your getting over podcast bingo, it's a clean sweep, Stu. A clean sweep. It is also myself and Jack going Roman Reigns, so that's everyone.
Okay. So that's all the matches predicted. However, as it is Raw versus SmackDown, the question remains, does overall Team Raw win or overall Team SmackDown win? Now, just for a bit of added jeopardy, if you like, you have the option of me taking your match results and working that through and putting that team, or just as almost like a banker, if you want to play it that way, you could just pick the other team. It's entirely up to you. So I'll start with Matt as his predictions are already in. So in theory, he has predicted a wants to a 3-2 and an Earth Contest win for SmackDown, and he has stuck with SmackDown. I will go to Jack next, because obviously Andy, you will have his. So he has predicted a 4-2 win for SmackDown by his match results. Has he maintained that?
So he has provided an overall winner, and the overall team winner is SmackDown.
Okay. Paul, you have got a 1, 2. You have got 3-all, which is
buddy.
very, very well done. So are you just having it as a draw, or are you?
No, I would like to submit that they'll do something. So I don't know how they'll go around it, but there'll be something that they'll sort of throw together that'll be like a rubber match or something like that, and they might what they should do is adopt an idea that they've done from previous year's Survivor Series, and everybody that's a survivor in their respective match teams together to take on the other team's survivors, and then that's like the big sort of culmination match, and it's winner take all from that particular end match. They won't do that because that's far too logical and something that people would actually want to see. So they'll put something together where it's like Adam Pearce versus Shane McMahon or something like that, and Shane McMahon will win for SmackDown or something like that. But SmackDown will end up as the over winner because they're just chumming Fox at the minute, aren't they? So
okay. Andy, you have got a 4-2 in favour of Raw.
And there's a part of me that wants to just be that guy who goes, oh, then I'll go with SmackDown and really cover the bases. And believe me, there is that part of me that wants to do it. But I think I'll stick with my predictions. I think I'm going to stick with Raw to be the overall winner.
Okay. I unknowingly have done the same as Paul. So on that basis, I'm going to pick Raw because then we'll have a differential. So that way,
I think had we got the exact same picks all the way through?
Yeah. Yes, we had. So
therefore, me and you would have needed a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
So that would have been interesting because it would have meant we could have had to pick our sole survivors from the 5-on-5 elimination match.
Yeah.
But never mind, you have to go and ruin it by picking Raw, you slack.
Well, why not? It saves coming up with a tie. What will actually happen is me and you will somehow end up on 0 points, and Andy, now having professed his innocence and then seemingly not copied any of Jack's answers, will somehow draw with Jack, and then Matt will have provided his separately, and we'll just get a clean sweep. I can see this happening. It's just the way it goes. But will that come to fruition? Have I actually just Nostradamus the absolute living out of that? Come back next time, find out. So that is all of the predictions. The little bit of news. Has anyone got any other wrestling business?
I have something. Now, I can't talk about how much time I've put into this research because it's extensive, but when are we going to talk about the fact that Vince McMahon absolutely owns AEW? When is this going to be a thing? How much are they paying you, Stu, to not talk about the fact that Vince McMahon absolutely owns AEW?
I mean, if they were paying me, Sarah would have been loads happier about the purchase of those. But yeah, maybe they pay me in belts. Who knows? Maybe I'm not revealing that.
I'm just saying, at some point,
you're gonna have to give us some reasoning behind what you think.
I mean, WWE are literally just like, they can't get their talent out the door fast enough. It's literally, you know, on a hot summer's day, you're going to get a lovely cool breeze from that turnstile at the front door of WWE headquarters as they just keep chucking people through it. Get the fuck out, get the fuck out. And where do they all go? They all go over the road. AEW. They do their 3 months of sitting and probably still cashing checks, and then we're off to AEW. But you know, there's been he's going to sell the company, so he's getting rid of all of the stock, so to speak. But surely this is just, you know, WWE was top of the game, but it's lonely at the top when there's not much around you to battle with, to fight against. AEW comes along, send majority of the talent over the road. Next thing, you've got this bit of a war going.
I mean, it's no secret that obviously Vince, I think, probably secretly enjoyed the Monday Night Wars. I know it was probably very stressful, but ultimately, ever since that ended, they've just piggybacked off that for the last 20 years?
Yeah, 20 years of coasting along.
So, in that theory, it would be quite interesting. Or is it that he's finally gone senile and he just believes it's the NWO coming to WWE storyline for real and he's sending the poison?
At this point in time, all I will say is this. If you put into Google, does Vince McMahon own AEW? You can lose a good few days to the number of websites that confirm that it's absolutely a thing. But hey, you know, who am I?
You've put it out into the universe now. So if you've got any theories on that, if you are listening to this right now and you think, there's maybe something to that, or maybe you just think he's an absolute loon. Either way, get in touch. Let us know. Let's get some debate going. It's an interesting point. I mean, there's a lot going for and against it, so I'll be firmly sitting on that fence as the mediator for that debate. But I can see the points you've made for sure.
There we go.
Anything else?
Nothing from me.
Cool. Well, all that remains then is just to say thank you very much, gentlemen, for spending some time and going through these predictions, and enjoy the weekend's event. Enjoy Survivor Series, and we'll see you next time out and find out if I can hang on to that predictions title. Cheers, guys.
Thank you. So there you go, what do you think to that? Who have you got winning the matches? Drop us a line and let us know. You can find all our contact details over at thecookiecast.com. Wherever you're getting your podcast though, do subscribe, like, share and comment. It's awesome and it really does mean a lot to us. That's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye and I'll see you then.